Hey bitch, welcome back to XOXO Crimes, the podcast where we cover true crime and keep it real, keep it honest with the baddest bitch, Kristen. Hey! I'm your host, and today's episode is one that genuinely shook me when I first heard about it. It's very disappointing, very gruesome, and very, very sad. We're talking about a family vacation, a cruise, something that's supposed to be fun, pina coladas, ocean views, cheesy buffets, and instead, an 18-year-old girl never made it home. Her name was Anna Kepner. She was a cheerleader from Florida. I'm sorry, let me settle down, my gosh. She was a cheerleader from Florida. She was 18 years old, and she was killed by someone she knew. Someone she was supposed to be safe with. Someone in her own family. This case is still unfolding while I'm filming this. The trial hasn't happened yet, but there is a lot to get into. Evidence, family drama, legal twists, and a public debate that has left the internet split in half. So grab your drink, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Hello queens, welcome back to XOXO Crimes. It's your bitch, Kristen, and we're back for another episode. Are you guys surprised? I am keeping up with this true crime podcast. Today's case is absolutely disgusting, disheartening, and I can't believe that there are men in this world. Let's just say that. I can't believe there are men in this world. Do not mind my room. It's a disaster. It always is a disaster. I feel like you guys know that. You know me. But yeah, it's not about the disaster. It's about the words coming out of my mouth. Let's get into it. Okay, so first, let me tell you about Anna. Anna Marie Kepner was 18 years old and from Titusville, Florida. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is a small city on Florida's Space Coast right near Cape Canaveral. Hope I'm saying that correctly also. She was a cheerleader at Temple Christian High School. By all accounts, she was a bright, happy girl. Her grandparents described her as having a bright and beautiful soul. That was literally the theme of her memorial service. Asked everyone to wear bright colors in her honor. Her family situation was a little complicated, as a lot of families are. Her dad is Christopher Kepner. Her stepmother is a woman named Timothy Hudson. And through that marriage, Anna gained a stepbrother, a 16-year-old boy named Timothy Hudson, and a 9-year-old stepsister. Now, here's something her grandparents actually said publicly. Anna and Timothy, her stepbrother, were close. Like, close. The grandparents described them as having a good relationship. That detail is going to matter later because it makes what allegedly happened even harder to wrap your head around. Anna was 18, Timothy was 16. 2 years apart in age, and by all family accounts, they got along. So, when the family decided to go on a cruise together in November of 2025, a big family trip, there was nothing on the surface that seemed alarming about Anna and Timothy sharing a room. They were close in age, they got along. It probably seemed totally fine, but it was not fine. Okay, let's set the scene. It's November 2nd, 2025. The family boards the Carnival Horizon, a massive cruise ship at Port Miami. And I mean, it's a whole group. We're talking Anna, her dad Christopher, her stepmother Chantel, Anna's paternal grandparents, her 14-year-old half-brother, her 10-year-old half-sister, and stepbrother Timothy Hudson, and Timothy's 9-year-old stepsister. The trip was planned for 6 nights. They were hitting Jamaica, Grand Cayman, and Mexico. So like dream vacation, right? Because Anna and Timothy were close in age, they were put in a shared cabin together. Just the two of them. The rest of the family was nearby but in their own rooms. Now, I want you to keep that in mind as we go through this, because that detail, two teenagers alone in a cabin, becomes a huge point of debate later. But we'll get there. The first few days of the cruise ship seem to go fine. The family is doing their thing, hitting ports, enjoying the trip. Then comes the night of November 6th. The night everything changes. The family had docked in Mexico earlier that day. By evening, they're all together for dinner. And at some point during dinner, Anna tells the family she's not feeling well. She says her stomach hurts and that her braces are bothering her. She leaves dinner early to go back to the cabin. That's the last time the family sees her alive at dinner. Now here's where the surveillance footage becomes really important, because the ship's cameras were watching. According to prosecutors, surveillance footage shows Timothy Hudson and Anna Kepner entering their shared stateroom together a little after 7:30 p.m. Specifically, the CBS News report gives us a time as 7:51 p.m. when they were both confirmed to be in the cabin together. Prosecutors believe Anna was still alive at around 8:14 p.m. because that's when she was last seen communicating with someone on Snapchat. So she's in the cabin, she's on her phone, she's talking to someone on Snapchat at 8:14. And Timothy is in that same room. Then at 12:09 in the morning, so this is now technically November 7th, Anna's 14-year-old half-brother tries to go back to the cabin to sleep. And when he gets there, he puts his arm out to stop his half-brother from coming in. He yells that he's changing. The half-brother later told investigators it felt weird. All the lights in the cabin were blazing at midnight. That's the detail that stuck with him. All the lights were on. He didn't go in, he left. And here's where it gets even darker. After the crime, after surveillance footage captures Timothy Hudson on the ship's deck, smashing Anna's phone and throwing it into a trash can. Her phone. He destroyed her phone and threw it away. The phone was later recovered from the ship's lost and found, by the way. Carnival staff found it in the trash, turned it in, so that backfired on him. And I just feel like you can just tell how immature the mind is, because why wouldn't you throw it over the deck? Like, you're on a cruise ship, why would you keep the evidence on board? But this is the type of criminals that we have. Idiots. But thankfully, he is an idiot. You know what I mean? Allegedly. The Carnival Horizon was scheduled to return to Miami on November 8th, and it did, right on schedule. But before the ship docked at 11:17 in the morning on November 8th, a housekeeper went to service the stateroom that Anna and Timothy shared. And the housekeeper found her. Anna Kepner's body was wrapped in a blanket, stuffed under the bed, and concealed by a box of life vests. He hid her under the bed, under a box of life vests. She had been there, hidden like that, while everyone on the ship went about their morning, while the family had breakfast, while the ship sailed back to Miami. When Anna's body was found, family members said Timothy was an emotional mess. He reportedly told investigators and family members the same thing over and over. He couldn't remember anything from that night. Nothing. The cruise ship docked in Miami as planned. Law enforcement was waiting. The FBI took over the investigation, and here's why. The crime happened in international waters. When crimes happen on the open ocean outside of any country's jurisdiction, it's a federal matter in the US. So the FBI handles it, and federal charges apply. Timothy Hudson was taken off that ship and hospitalized under what's called a Baker Act in Florida. That's an involuntary psychiatric hold. He was held for psychiatric observation and then released to a relative of his mother, Chantel's family. The death was officially ruled a homicide. And here's what the autopsy found, because I want to make sure we go through the evidence clearly. The Miami-Dade medical examiner determined Anna's cause of death was mechanical asphyxiation, meaning she was strangled. Prosecutors say she was likely placed in a chokehold with an arm held across her neck, and that chokehold was sustained for 3 to 5 minutes. There was bruising on her neck, consistent with that. Her eardrums were ruptured, which is consistent with the kind of pressure that builds during strangulation, and the medical examiner also found evidence of SA. When Anna's body was found, her pants were on, but her underwear was twisted and partially displaced, in a way consistent with a non-consensual encounter. A grape kit was performed, and biological evidence found inside Anna's body contained DNA that prosecutors say has a high probability of belonging to Timothy Hudson. Yeah, I know, that's super fucking heavy. Her own family. Okay, so after the ship docks and Anna's death is ruled a homicide, the FBI starts building their case. And there are a few key pieces of evidence they're working with. 1. The surveillance footage. The cameras on the ship captured Timothy and Anna entering the cabin together. They captured Timothy on the deck, destroying Anna's phone and throwing it away. They captured him walking past the cabin after Anna's body was already hidden under the bed. 2. The timeline. Anna's Apple Watch, yes, she was wearing an Apple Watch, was tracking her heart rate that night. And prosecutors say her Apple Watch stopped registering her heart rate during the window when she and Timothy were alone in the cabin, between roughly 7:51 p.m. and 11:21 p.m. Prosecutors believe that's when the crime occurred. 3. The DNA. Biological evidence recovered from the grape kit connected to Timothy Hudson with high probability. 4. Consciousness of guilt. He destroyed her phone. He hid her body under a bed and covered it with life vests. He blocked his half-brother from entering the room at midnight with all the lights on. These are all kinds of actions prosecutors argue show that he knew what he'd done. Now, let's talk about what happened legally, because this case went through a few phases. A memorial service for Anna was held on November 20th, 2025. Friends and family wore bright colors just as her loved ones requested. On November 17th, Chantel Hudson, Timothy's mom and Anna's stepmother, actually requested an emergency delay in a completely separate custody hearing that was going on at the time, because one of her minor children might be considered a suspect. That custody dispute between Chantel and Timothy's biological father, Thomas Hudson, had been ongoing. On December 5th, a federal judge officially stated in a custody hearing that the stepbrother was considered a suspect. Then, on February 6th, 2026, about 3 months after Anna's death, Timothy Hudson appeared before a federal magistrate. At that point, the case was sealed. Charges were not publicly released. He was represented by a federal public defender. Then comes April 13th, 2026. A federal grand indicted Timothy Hudson. The charges were unsealed by U.S. District Judge Beth Bloom. He is charged as an adult with first-degree murder and aggravated SA. He pleaded not guilty to both charges. He was 16 when this happened. He is being tried as an adult in federal court, and his trial is currently scheduled for September 2026. Okay guys, here is where the case gets really complicated, and I want to be really careful here because this is ongoing. No verdict has been reached, no trial happened yet. So what I'm about to share are facts from the court proceedings, not conclusions. Let's start with the DNA issue, because this is the big legal development right now. So we know prosecutors say Hudson's DNA was found in the grape kit, but here's the thing. During a recent court hearing, the defense cross-examined the FBI's lead case agent, and the line of questioning was about whether investigators ever attempted to collect DNA from the injuries on Anna's neck. You know, the actual evidence of the strangulation, the chokehold, the cause of death. The exchange went like this. Defense. The proffer described marks and bruises to Anna's neck. Was any attempt ever made to lift DNA from areas of her body to indicate who may have strangled her? FBI agent. I'm not sure. Of that, I'm not sure. No. Defense, you're the case agent. You would have been privy to that information if it in fact existed. FBI agent, yeah, I would say so. Okay, so the lead FBI agent on the case isn't sure whether they ever even tried to collect DNA from the strangulation injuries. The defense also asked whether the medical examiner could determine if the person who was with Anna that night was the same person who killed her. The FBI agent said, I don't think they made that determination. Now, and I want to be super clear about this does not mean Timothy Hudson didn't do it. What it means is that the defense is building a reasonable doubt argument. Their strategy is essentially yes, DNA places him with Anna that night, but can you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he's the one who strangled her? Especially since no DNA was collected from the neck injuries. A criminal defense attorney quoted in the Fox 35 report put it plainly, they're trying to show reasonable doubt as to who choked her. The argument is, how do you know? On the other side, legal experts who aren't affiliated with the case say murder convictions don't require DNA. Prosecutors have circumstantial evidence, surveillance footage, the phone destruction, the hidden body, the Apple Watch data, the timeline. A retired detective quoted in the same report said the jury will look at everything in totality, and that hiding her body and destroying her phone suggests consciousness of guilt regardless of the DNA question. Also, and this is something News Nation reported, the FBI apparently tested DNA from a second unidentified teenage boy before arresting Hudson. So investigators did briefly look at other possibilities before focusing on Timothy. That second person was cleared. Now let's talk about the family drama, because there is a lot of it. Sonia, this woman, she is Timothy Hudson's step-grandmother. Specifically, she's Chantel Kepner's stepmother, and she says she helped raise Timothy. She went to CBS News in June 2026 and came out swinging. She's calling for the criminal charges against Anna's father, Christopher Kepner, and Anna's stepmother, Chantel Hudson, arguing that the adults on that trip failed to properly supervise those teenagers. Her exact words, the lack of parental supervision on a floating city, putting 3 teenagers, 2 boys and a girl, in a room together that were not raised together is just a recipe for disaster. She also said she believes alcohol was involved. She said Timothy has told family members they were drinking on the ship, and she believes he blacked out and genuinely does not remember what happened that night. Now, the Kepner's attorney denied the drinking claim in a court hearing. The attorney said, quote, "There are videotapes on the ship that confirmed there was absolutely no drinking." She also said that when she and her husband tried to reach out to Chantel after hearing about Anna's death online, Chantel's only response was, "Whatever you do, just don't talk to the media." And a former Palm Beach state prosecutor who spoke to CBS News, not involved in the case, said that while it's possible to pursue negligence charges against parents in a situation like this, quote, "It's a very fact-based injury, and I don't know if there are enough facts to sustain that charge." As of right now, no charges have been filed against either parent. What do you guys think about that? Comment down below. I feel like there should be a little bit more responsibility on the parents' end with this whole situation, but that's just me personally speaking, giving my opinion. Okay, so where does everything stand from right now as of June 2026? Timothy Hudson is currently in custody. He was initially released after his adult charges were filed in April, but the government moved to have him detained and a judge agreed. The judge's ruling said, and I love how direct this is, quote, "The government has established by clear and convincing evidence that no condition or combination of conditions of release will reasonably assure the safety of the community." He's been moved from Citrus County Jail, where he had a mental health evaluation, to Miami-Dade's Metro West Detention Center. His trial is set for September 8th, 2026. Now, the internet, social media, comment sections, everybody has an opinion on this case. And there are basically 3 camps. Camp 1, justice for Anna. This is the majority. Most people look at the surveillance footage, the DNA, the smashed phone, the hidden body, and say it's pretty clear what happened. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer went on record calling the initial decision to let Hudson remain free infuriating. Prosecutors themselves called this crime a barbaric, intentional, thoughtful act. Camp 2, the adults failed Anna too. A growing group, amplified by Sonia's public statements, argue that Christopher Kepner and Chantel Hudson made serious mistakes that night. Putting 2 teenagers in a shared cabin on a cruise ship with apparently limited supervision, people are questioning that. This group isn't necessarily defending Timothy, they're saying Anna deserved better protection from the adults who were supposed to be watching out for her. Camp 3, wait for the trial. A smaller group, mostly people following the legal proceedings closely, is pointing to the DNA gaps the defense has surfaced and saying the case might be more complicated than it looks. Some people online are questioning whether a 16-year-old should be tried as an adult. This is the minority view, but it's out there. I'll tell you where I land. All of these conversations can be true at the same time. Timothy Hudson can be guilty, and the adults on the trip could have made better decisions. And we can wait for a fair trial before drawing final conclusions. What's not complicated is this. Anna Kepner was 18 years old. She left dinner early because her braces hurt. She should have been safe. Anna Kepner's memorial service was held on November 20th, 2025. Her family asked everyone to wear bright colors in honor of Anna's bright and beautiful soul. I love that. Bright colors, because she was bright, because she was only 18. I can't imagine what she went through. Whatever happened to her is just unacceptable. I will absolutely be following this case as September approaches, and I'll put out an update episode on whatever significant things happens. I have a feeling things are going to move very, very fast. Please share this episode. Write a comment down below. Tell me how you feel about this. Tell a friend hi. And if you are new here, welcome to XOXO Crimes. I'm so glad that you found us, and I'm so sorry it was a story like this one. Rest in peace, Anna. We haven't forgotten you, and I hope we bring you justice. That's it for this episode. Until next time, stay safe, stay smart. XOXO. I'll see you guys in my next one. Toodles.